County Council and other local authorities?
Council engages with Essex County Council and many other authorities as well. I was engaging with our Essex counterparts this very morning, for example. This was at the South East Local Enterprise Partnership, which gives us a really good opportunity to work alongside Essex and partners from Kent, Medway, East Sussex and Southend as well, as we look at the overall economic development priorities across the whole area. In this context, we've also championed the cause of the Thames Gateway South Essex Partnership, which brings together Southend, Rochford, Castle Point and Basildon, alongside Essex as the County Council, sitting above the three districts. I meet with leaders of these authorities on a regular basis. Together we work through the Thames Gateway South Essex Partnership, now a recognised area within the wider local enterprise partnership, to lead and take forward the causes that we have in common across southern and Thameside Essex, particularly around economic development and growth. We also, of course, Mr Mayor, share a Director of Public Health with Southend, and I know that she is currently reviewing the team arrangements to see whether it would be better to have a single team for both Southend and Thurrock. Mr Mayor, here's somebody wishing to make a donation to your charity. Mr Mayor, I have said time and again that I will support any move that will improve services for our community, protect services for our community, and I will look very carefully at her proposals and will support them if I am convinced of the advantages. We've also worked closely with Essex County Council through their community budget process and in support of their recent review of care provision called Who Will Care, an independent review led by Sir Thomas Hughes Hallett, which of course recognised that some of the good things that we're doing in Thurrock, especially through asset-based community development and in particular the community hub in South Ockenden, which celebrated its first birthday this week. At the Cabinet meeting only last week, we heard about two new proposals to work jointly with Essex, which were the reinstatement of our membership of the Safety Camera Partnership and the commissioning of the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services contracts, both with Essex County Council and Southend. These will build on the many other joint relationships with Essex, including the Essex County-wide Travellers Union. Mr Mayor, I know that the Chief Executive attends regular meetings of the Essex Chief Executives Association, not everyone, because the agenda is not always relevant to us here in Thurrock. But I know that on Monday this week he had a 2-hour meeting with the other 5 Chief Executives of the Thames Gateway South Essex Partnership. I also attend Essex leaders meetings, again, not every time, but when the agenda is relevant to us here in Thurrock. I know that the senior management teams for Thurrock, Essex County Council and Southend are holding a joint board-to-board meeting in May to take forward our common agenda and to improve the working relationship still further. I also meet separately with Councillor Finch, the leader of Essex County Council, and I frequently met with Peter Martin, the former leader, until May 2013. There are also a myriad of meetings at more junior levels with officers frequently discussing issues of common interest. Mr Mayor, of course, we also have some other joint arrangements, including our National Non-Development Rates Pooling Scheme, which covers Basildon and Thurrock, as well as Havering, and of course Barking and Dagenham. And of course, our Head of Legal Services and Monitoring Officer also provides those services with Brentwood District Council. I know that the Chief Executive has continued to try and engage with his counterpoint at Basildon District Council in order to take forward some shared services. And I have spoken on several occasions to the Conservative leader of Basildon to help try and open the door for further discussions about the potential for us to work together. Mr Mayor, in summary, we do a lot of work jointly with other authorities across Essex, but maybe that doesn't get such a high profile as it's not so easy to create high profile headlines.
I'd also like to ask how often you met with the leader of Barking and Dagenham Council and how this compares with the number of meetings that you've held with the leadership of Essex County Council.
Many more meetings with the leadership of Essex County Council than with members at Barking and Dagenham. In fact, over the last year, I have met just once with the leader of Barking and Dagenham, and over the past 2 years, I think I've met 4 times with the leadership there. Once of those, of course, with Councillors Anderson and Little with me. I compare this with my regular face-to-face meetings accompanied by our respective Chief Executives with the leader of Essex County Council and our regular attendance at meetings of SELEC and the Thames Gateway South Essex Partnership.
You're a little later tonight about the Barking and Dagenham issue, but I'd just like the leader to confirm that under his leadership we are leaving no stone unturned in our pursuit of savings and back office functions in order to protect frontline services.
Yeah, of course, Mr Mayor, we do leave no stone unturned, but we do need to remember that we're a top-tier council and a unitary, which means that we do everything that a county council does, as well as everything that a district council sitting under a county does. That means it is far easier to get management savings out of a combined relationship with another unitary-style council, a London borough like Barking and Dagenham, because we're a similar size and we have similar community interests and similar growth agenda. It would be very difficult for us to share our Director of Social Services, for instance, with Essex County Council. where Thurrock would represent just a tenth of the population, and the same would go for education. I just have to ask, Mr. Mayor, does anybody really think that we'd get sufficient senior management attention if we were to share these services with Essex? Frankly, I do not. That doesn't mean to say that we don't explore these opportunities, and when the fit is right, then we'll do it.
Tonight's agenda provides a list of decisions made by this Council in November 2012. What it does not provide is the option which was rejected by the Council on that evening. The administration had also put forward a recommendation for fully joint management with the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham, and this proposal was defeated. Look at the minutes. Since then, and despite that clear decision of Council, we have seen a steady drift towards a management merger. More officers spend more of their time in East London. More Thurrock emails are sent out from Barking Town Hall, and more announcements slip out that this service or that senior officer is now joint with Barking and Dagenham. This has to stop. We voted clearly against a management merger 16 months ago, but it increasingly seems that it is happening by stealth. Our reasons for opposing a management merger with Barking and Dagenham are clear and well-founded. It means managers would lose their focus on Thurrock as a place during a crucial period of change and transformation, which has already been referred to tonight. Already, few of our senior staff live locally, and after a merger, some of them would not even work locally. It pulls us away from our key partners in Essex, the Thames Gateway, and the South East Local Enterprise Partnership, which has been acknowledged by the leader as very important in his answer to a previous question. And that makes it more difficult for us to influence crucial decisions around investment in transport, skills training and job creation. The political governance would be unworkable. Whichever party was in control in Thurrock, there would be most likely a permanent Labour majority on any joint committees, and that could lead to decision gridlock. It poses a risk to Thurrock's improvement journey. Through loss of management focus on Thurrock, and because in some areas we would be merging with services that are already weaker than our own. And finally, it is strongly opposed by local people, many of whom chose to move away from East London and don't now want to look back. Mr. Mayor, members from all sides of this chamber are in agreement that sharing services can help us to save money and to improve quality. But a full management merger is a blunt instrument which delivers few benefits apart from an initial reduction in senior staff numbers. It would be short-term gain at the cost of considerable long-term pain. All of these are important reasons why a management merger would be the wrong move for Thurrock. But the most important question is far simpler. What is our vision for the future of our borough? I want Thurrock to be the dynamic heart of the Thames Gateway, a place that is proud of its Essex identity and works closely with our partners in South Essex to deliver efficiency and growth. And that vision is incompatible with Thurrock increasingly looking towards London and becoming the next London borough in all but name. Management is about more.
No, let's just hear what he has to say.
It's not true.
Get your chance.
Management is about more than numbers on a balance sheet. It is about the culture of the council, and it's a commitment to the place that it serves. And I believe that a management merger, by decision or by stealth, would lead to Thurrock becoming an East London backwater, stripped of our identity and stripped of our influence. I'm not willing to see that happen, and I urge members to join with me in supporting this motion.
Thanks for the kind of budget cuts that we are. We've had 30 million cut from our budget already, another 25 million to come. Shared services, shared management is a really important tool to help us protect frontline services wherever we can. We've saved £1 million so far through sharing services and management, £500,000 with Barking and Dagenham alone. And I have to say that there has been a change of mind by the Conservative group. When we first started sharing management, when we first started sharing the head of legal services, the Conservative group welcomed it. The Conservative group criticised us for not doing more and going more quickly. In the budget of 2011, they actually put an amendment forward calling on us to bring forward savings from sharing management with Barking and Dagenham. When Graham Farrant was asked whether he would wish to become the interim chief executive of Barking and Dagenham, the first person I discussed it with, the first, was Councillor Anderson. What did he say? He said that he thought it was a good idea. Mr. Mayor, what has changed? A full management merger has never been on the agenda, and as far as I'm concerned, will not be. Let's look at what we actually do. Our assistant chief executive has a similar role with Barking and Dagenham. We share a head of policy, and we've decided to call upon Barking and Dagenham's director of environment to add some much-needed capacity here. That is it. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Anderson speaks of focus. focusing in the areas where we need to improve, focusing on housing. I don't want to share a director of housing. They didn't even have a director of housing. Mr Mayor, printed on the agenda is the resolution that we agreed in November 2012. We all agreed to continue to look for opportunities to share services or management with whoever is most appropriate. I actually think that's very sensible. What this motion seeks to do is to rule out just one possible partner, and I just do not know why would we do that. Are we really saying that we can share more management with Brentwood, or Basildon, or Braintree, or Barnsley, or Bristol, or Bath, but not Barking, not ever, not even if it was in the best interests of Thurrock? Mr Mayor, that is pure madness. And I have to remind Councillor Anderson that various senior Conservatives have backed our approach, as he knows. And it really does appear that everyone gets the need to share management except for Thurrock Conservatives. But I have to say, Mr Mayor, I may be being unfair. It may not be sharing management they don't like, it might just be management they don't like. After all, when they formed the administration, they proved themselves to be none too keen on their own senior managers, unable to work with chief executive after chief executive, paying off David White and putting Andrew Harding in his place, appointing Angie Ridgewell, then paying her off, appointing Michael Rowan, then paying him off, then appointing Bob Coomber, all in little over 3 years. Mr Mayor, Councillor Anderson spoke of focus. One of the areas we've spoken about a lot tonight that we need to focus on is education. Mr Mayor, in that 3 years, they managed to get through 5 directors of children's services. Count them. Steve Bynum, Rob McCulloch-Graham, Julian Kramer, Malcolm Newsom, before appointing Joe Olsen. And in corporate governance, they got through 5 monitoring officers: Monica Blades, Rosemary Lyons, Michelle Sachs, Michael Rowan, Gwen Bankole-Jones, before Tasnim Shortcut arrived and brought some stability. This was at a time that the Audit Commission condemned this council as not improving adequately, highlighted a fundamental breakdown in trust between senior members and officers. We had an imprudent board being imposed upon us, and frankly, in local government circles, we were a national laughingstock. Since then, we worked hard to bring stability, whilst at the same time adjusting to the largest ever cuts imposed on local government. £30 million so far, with £25 million more to come. Sharing management with some management with Barking and Dagenham has worked. It's helped to deliver £1 million in savings, it's added capacity and helped to restore stability. Mr Mayor, I have to ask, why on earth would we turn our backs on that if not for shallow, short-term political advantage?
Can I assure Councillor Anderson, Mr Mayor, that there is no merger. If the leaflets have already been printed, then you must rip them up. There is no merger. Why is Barking and Dagenham, Mr Mayor? Why is Barking and Dagenham, Mr Mayor, so different for our shared services? In my directorate, shared director of public health with Southend, agreed with my counterpart, Councillor Shane Hebb, saves us around £60,000 per year. Part of South Essex Mental Health Commissioning, 4 CCGs, 3 local authorities, allows us to work together across South Essex to pool our commissioning to get a better deal from SEPT. Our rapid response team and joint reablement team, joint teams with North East London Foundation Trust. North East London Foundation Trust, Mr Mayor, is okay, but East London isn't. Mental health social workers seconded over to the Mental Health Trust so that we have integrated community mental health teams, saving us money. Part of Essex-wide arrangement for community equipment under the Essex Equipment Store again allows us to bulk purchase and get a better deal for service users. This government's Better Care Fund will take us to yet another level to integrate and share further, encouraged by this government, especially around commissioning with the CCG and point provision once again with North East London Foundation Trust. Councillor Anderson, I want to ask you, if we stop sharing services with Barking and Dagenham, saving us over £500,000 per annum, which of my social workers do you want to sack?
All I can say is Councillor Anderson knows there's no possible way we can have a merger with Barking and Dagenham. We can't suddenly skip into being a London borough. We're not a London borough. We're never going to be a London borough. This is just complete nonsense. We really need something serious to say. The trouble was, you had it all written down. I wouldn't mind it if you'd just done it off the top of your head. You must even believe some of it if you've got it all written down, surely.
Councillor Martin Healy.
Well, there might be a new angle, but sadly there isn't. I mean, this Labour administration has got quite a clear focus. We're open for business. open for business means, you know, open. We don't shut off our options in terms of, you know, investors. We obviously put them through due diligence. And similarly, we're open for business when it comes to sharing services. I'm just a little bit disappointed, really. Mr. Mayor, I thought there was a new angle. It's simply playing to some sort of electoral currency that our colleagues in the Conservative Party want to propagate at the forthcoming local elections.
We do share services with. I've got it all here on the iPad. Essex. Essex. We share 1, 2, 3, 4. We share 9 services with Essex. So Essex is all right. We go to Southend. How many services do we share? We share 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 services with Southend.
Is that a thumbs up?
Chelmsford, we share 1. Brentwood, we share 1. Now, surprise, surprise, your favourite council, Westminster, we share legal services with them. Isn't that good?
Yep, thumbs up.
Havering, we share the school catering and
That's getting
adoption
close though,
services.
isn't it?
Birmingham, we share the illegal money laundering, lending team, I should say. And isn't this surprising? We actually share with North Kent, which includes Medway, Dartford, Gravesham and Swale. What do we share with them? We share the Thames Gateway. So there is clear evidence, and this is available to any member of the public. So, like my colleagues have just said, you will have to rip those leaflets up. Because let us get to the real heart of the matter of this. It's nothing more than racism against people coming from Barking and Dagenham. That's really what it's about, racism. And obviously, we've got the extreme right wing of the Conservative Party, which is very close to UKIP.
Councillor Raven. I'm very close to the right wing in UKIP. Well, physically you are. Yes, I agree with you on that, but we don't have much in common, really. But anyway, can I just say, well, first of all, there is something about Barking and Dagenham. But can I just firstly say, I've often wondered about our legal services, its width and its depth, and now you explain to me why it is that way, that we go to Westminster as well. I understand, just recently, the right to buy the council homes is now being shared with Barking and Dagenham. The officer for the homeless is now being shared with Barking and Dagenham. Now, I've no quarrel really with that, except our homeless numbers are very small and Barking's is very large. So I don't know quite what the sharing would be in this. It has been said that Thurrock residents have similarities with the residents of Barking and Dagenham. It's not what I hear from our residents, to be in all honesty. I mean, I've got nothing against the people of Barking and Dagenham, but the reality of it is they're happy to have shared services with Essex and with Southend. They do have a real... Well, let's wait till the election comes and we will see.
One could almost believe that there's probably an election in the air sometime soon, perhaps. I do take great umbrage with the comments from a certain councillor, Councillor Rice, trying to link us with some racist connotation. It may surprise him to know that, in actual fact, I am against this motion tonight, because I do believe, when it comes down to saving money, I do believe that the party on my right have actually come up with the right solution at the time. I believe I did have a meeting with the leader of the council a year ago and we discussed this matter. And I think the figures are up to this day, I think for this part of the financial year or something, nearly 600,000 we've saved. So if we're talking about money, we're talking about saving, and we're talking about protecting services, then I'm afraid I'm against that motion. Thank you, Mr.
Councillor Kent's speech addresses pretty much none of the substantive points I made about the problems with a merger of the management with Barking and Dagenham. Didn't seriously debate, just went into a tirade about the previous Conservative administration, and really highlighting some of Councillor Hibbs's failures adds very little to this debate.
I think you should sit down a minute and have a little lesson. On several occasions, Mr. Mayor, the group that I was leader of was asked about what they thought of certain senior members. I acted on their wishes.
Regarding the point that the administration had not proposed a fully joint management team with Barking and Dagenham, it clearly was proposed. It was proposed in November 2012. It's there in black and white in the minutes. The only reason you don't see it written in front of us is because it was defeated and therefore was not a decision of this council. Please don't try to rewrite history on this one. There are many members who have spoken tonight, especially Councillor Gerard Rice, who don't seem to understand the difference between shared services and a joint management structure. Shared services I've heard very little objection to from any side of this chamber. The idea of moving to a joint management structure with Barking and Dagenham could significantly jeopardise our shared services arrangements, which we're good enough to highlight. And information provided by Thurrock Council makes clear, and this was a freedom of information answer, so I hope it's accurate, that 80% of what we do by value is with Barking and Dagenham. We are putting most of our eggs in one basket, 80% with Barking and Dagenham. Councillor Rice's statement that there is going to be no joint management. Well, if there is going to be no
I said
joint...
there is not going to be a merger, Mr. Mayor. I didn't say joint management, I said a merger.
Well, the motion is about joint management. If you dislike joint management, then vote with us. If you support the idea of joint management with Barking and Dagenham, then vote against our motion.
No merger, Mr. Mayor.
The motion refers to joint management, as you will see in the text of the tribune. In terms of specific arrangements that we've supported, we have had the maturity to vote for specific arrangements where we felt they were in the interest of Thurrock. The reality is, things like legal services are back office, they are non-facing to residents, it makes sense to share them. We share them widely, and we have supported that. And the fact is that if we can continue to honestly bring proposals to this chamber on their merits, we might have considered supporting those as well. The reality is we've seen time after time, the first we hear about a new thing being joined together with Barking and Dagenham is when you get an email from some officer who somewhere now either telling us I'm doing something at Barking and Dagenham this week, or from an officer who isn't part of Thurrock Council saying I'm now responsible for this. And in terms of the politics of this, yes, there is a clear distinction between the parties, and I acknowledge that. I'm committing that the Conservative Party will not pursue any further the idea of a joint management team between Barking and Dagenham and Thurrock. This council affirms its decision not to pursue joint management between Thurrock and the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham. That's exactly what it says.